Mr. Jonathan, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. Let me begin by asking you what you make of the key scientific objectives of the Axiom 4 mission.
Right. So this mission is going to send both the Indian astronaut, a European astronaut, and the Hungarian, also European astronaut, I guess, to the space station for several weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And in that time, you can really learn to adapt to microgravity, and they're going to carry out a range of experiments, taking advantage of the fact that they're so-called weightless in free fall, taking account of how the body adapts to that strange circumstance, and studying radiation in space and things like that. But really, for this mission, I think it's not the basic science that they're doing, which is honestly not super groundbreaking. It's developing the experience of the different space agencies involved, including ISRO, uh, for operating missions in space.
Right.
And so, really, it's practice for a more advanced set of science that's going to be done in the future, particularly on the Gaganyaan missions.
India's group captain Shubhanshu Shukla is a mission pilot for Axiom 4. How significant is this for India's space program, and what does it signal about ISRO's growing global presence?
Right. I think it's a really important step. And using Axiom Space as a commercial company that provides space experience for companies that are new to the space game, is a smart move on India's part. It gives you early access, early experience that will help guide the Gaganyaan program. And 50 countries have had astronauts in space now, including India with Rakesh Sharma back in the 1980s. But only 3 countries have had their own indigenous launch capability: Russia, America, and China. India will be the fourth when the Gaganyaan missions fly. And so that really is positioning India to join the first rank of space nations.
Mr. Jonathan, as an expert in satellite dynamics, how do you assess the orbital logistics and safety considerations for Axiom 4's journey to the International Space Station?
Uh, the first thing to understand is a mission like this to orbit is so much more dangerous and energetic and complicated than a simple suborbital tourist hop. We've seen other people, famous people, including Indian citizens, take these little tourist rides up above the atmosphere for a few minutes. Orbital flight is a whole different thing. But having said that, the Dragon spacecraft that Axiom 4 uses has flown a lot of missions now. And the International Space Station has been continuously occupied for decades. And so this is a well-trodden route. Although the commander of Axiom 4 is a commercial astronaut, she is a former NASA astronaut, a former space station commander, and so they're in very experienced hands there. And so I'm confident that this will be a safe mission, even though, the key moment, right, is going to be the docking with the International Space Station, where both Axiom 4 and the space station are going to be traveling at 17,000 miles an hour, 25 something thousand kilometers an hour, and yet they have to match speeds to only about 1 kilometer an hour, and then join up gently. So that's always an interesting moment.
In your Jonathan's Space report that I have recently studied, you have tracked thousands of launches. How does Axiom 4 stand out in the context of commercial spaceflight and international collaboration?
Right. I think it's the vanguard of a new approach to space access for developing countries and countries that are new to space human spaceflight. There are, as you say, thousands of satellites in orbit now. And there are but not that many with people on board, right? And so human spaceflight is becoming more normal. Uh, and this new service of, okay, we Axiom have a spaceship that we buy from Elon Musk, and we're going to provide the basic elements of a space mission for countries that don't have their own. It's a great starter pack. It's a great training exercise for a country that wants to start its human spaceflight program and do it in an easy way before they invest more in having a more indigenously designed program.
Shubhanshu Shukla, will be carrying items representing India's diverse regions to the ISS. What role do such cultural gestures play in fostering global interest, in space exploration?
I think it's really important because you want to feel connected, right? I think for a lot of people, space the big secret, right, is that space is everywhere in our lives today. I mean, we're all used to GPS or GNSS, the Indian version of INRSS, letting us know where we are. We don't realize that a lot of our smart devices are flowing their data over satellites. Airplane tracking is happening over satellites. So every day, invisibly to you, you're using space technology. And so having these cultural connections to make it personal for people, I think helps them understand the importance of the space economy to the economy here on Earth.
As per your expertise, what challenges do you see, Mr. Jonathan, for Axiom 4 in terms of space debris or orbital traffic?
Right. So it's always a worry now that we're tracking 25,000 little pieces of space junk whizzing around the Earth at these enormous speeds. And if one of those were to hit the spaceship, it could depressurize it. It could be a real risk to the crew. And so you're flying through this hail of stuff. You hope that the radars track these pieces and tell you to dodge them in time, but there's always a chance that one gets through. And so that is a real worry these days. We really have to clean up orbital space and make it less dangerous because it's so valuable to us now. There are other things that are risky, of course. The launch. Famously, the astronaut John Young says anyone who's sitting on top of that much explosive rocket fuel, all put together by the lowest bidder, and isn't nervous, doesn't understand the problem. And so launch is dangerous and landing is dangerous. You're coming in, you have to take that 25,000 kilometers an hour that you're traveling at and slow down in just a few minutes to a couple hundred kilometers an hour you by belly flopping through the atmosphere in a fireball. And so you better hope that your heat shield holds. So lots of exciting moments in the Axiom 4 flight, but it's an experienced crew. It's a competent crew. I'm sure that things will go well.
Mr. Jonathan, before letting you go, as someone who's documented space flight history for decades, what advice would you give to young Indian scientists and space enthusiasts who are inspired by Shukla's role in Axiom 4?
I think India has a very bright future in space. India has, it launched its first satellite in 1980. India has been, I would say, in the second rank of space powers. It's not been at the level of the US and Russia, but it has been, comparable to Japan and ahead of everybody else. There's a great depth of experience in the Indian space program that is now being leveraged by the loosening of regulations that allow commercial companies to make money in space in India. And that's been a transformation to the American space program. I think we're starting to see that in the Indian space program with companies like Pixel. And so I think that there will be many opportunities for both scientific advance and commercial success in Indian space in the years to come.